Yakubets is a true 21st century criminal who, with the stroke of a key and the click of a mouse, committed cyber crimes across the globe. He's earned his place on the FBI's list of the world's most wanted cyber criminals.
Oh my God.
How's it going, American
Starfish? I'm just cracking up here looking at this guy that we're about to talk about. So everyone, today we're going to talk about Russia today.
Ooh.
I know.
That's everybody's favorite topic right now.
I know. Yeah. So, because we know it's one of the leading countries in the world of fraud and deceit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really. So that just seems to run rampant. And their names, too, are just always so fun. You know, like Artem Lifshitz.
Right. Oh, my goodness. Well, I mean, we all know how they're funding this war now. All these scams that they've been running.
Well, and honestly, I feel like the way the government is in Russia, Putin's made it so he kind of protects these people. But then he can kind of distance himself from them, too. Like, if they're caught or, like, brought up in other countries, like, he's like, oh, well, I don't know. I have nothing to do with it. I don't know. That's always his answer to everything.
It's a pretty good way to get out of things. I'm starting to figure out, you know, it's like Trump, just Teflon Don, just always saying, I deny. I didn't do it. That's what Putin seems to do, too. Just say, I don't know what this is. You can't accuse me of anything I'm just completely unaware of. Because they are like layers down, but you know they're working directly for him.
Yeah.
There's no 100%. Way they're not.
I mean, who we're talking about today is Maksim Yakubets.
Fun.
And he looks like a troll doll. We're going to put his picture up. That's what I was laughing about.
Crazy hair. If you, like, do this to it, you know, you, like, mess it up, and I wonder if it goes all crazy.
Right? Like, remember when you put them on the end of your pencil in grade school?
Oh, my gosh. I used to laugh hysterically at that. My sister had one, and I would just spin it, and then poof. Oh, man. He does. He looks just like it.
Anyway, I mean, I shouldn't laugh because I really do hate these people a lot. But it just sucks that they're able to do these types of things. And I want to talk about the war for just a second. To just give people kind of an overview. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard about it. People have done a lot of their own research out there. But really, this war is basically about energy. What happened was Russia used to be this whole big, like, USSR thing. The Soviet Union. Is what it used to be known as until the 90s. So when all that kind of unraveled and fell apart. So the Ukraine used to be part of Russia. So they were part of the USSR. And the Russians had already built all these oil pipelines that run through Ukraine and supply a lot of European countries with energy, right? So that's why we're seeing all these, like, price wars on gas, is because Europe's getting pressured right now. Like, some of the countries in Europe, it's quite a bit, like a high percentage that they rely on Russian energy for.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So ever since Ukraine's, like, become its own republic, its own democracy, it's hurt Russia quite a bit because all of their pipelines have been running through there. And then, if we remember, in 2014, Russia took over Crimea. Yep.
Crimea, yeah.
Which is a little island off the coast of Ukraine, and there's a lot of, like, natural gas pockets and all sorts of things. So, of course, the Russians wanted that so that they could tap into that energy. But the Ukrainians made it very difficult for Russia. They put, like, a bunch of... I want to say they stopped the water from trickling into that to make it harder for people to live and work there. Like, they have control over the water and that kind of stuff. So, of course, now Russia wants to take that back because they feel like it was their land to start with. So that's why they're so upset with everything. The other thing is, obviously, when you have such an oppressed country, your population goes down, right? People aren't wanting to have kids. I mean, if I was living in an oppressive country like that, it's like, would you want to bring a kid into that world? So...
I don't think you would want to have kids in any world, but yes, especially Russia.
I would say so. You know, like, they're kind of, it's probably not a great place to be. It doesn't sound like, I mean, this is stuff that's been going on for hundreds of years. Everyone's always been afraid of them. Remember the KGB? Like, everyone was always afraid that families would be taken in the middle of the night. It's kind of like cartel warfare type of stuff.
Right.
You know, if the government decides that you're wrong, they're going to come get you. So...
I think Putin enjoyed being a powerful person He's a classic narcissist. You know, everything he says, he flips it back on everybody else is the enemy. It's never him or never anything he's doing. And when Boris Yeltsin left and he took over, I think he was like, we're going to take Russia back, make Russia great again, you know, because during the Cold War, we had to run everything through Russia.
Right.
Just to make sure we didn't piss them off. And he liked that. And he's like, we need that back. And then, of course, he wants all the land back because he wants control of as many people as possible and as many resources as possible. I think Russia used to be the biggest producer of oil in the world until recently, and now it's the United States.
Yep. So that's kind of why we're seeing such a big issue with Ukraine. And honestly, I think if Putin waits any longer, he's not going to have enough soldiers to do it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Right? And I think that's why he had to do it now, because right now he has the means to do it. Whereas if he waits longer, he won't have that ability. So,
yeah, well, and also with Ukraine trying to get into NATO, he's afraid. I think he's afraid anyway, or this is his excuse. Who knows what's going on in this man's mind? He's such a madman, but I think he uses as an excuse to say, okay, now NATO countries are right up against me and it's ticking me off and I don't want you guys that close because what are you going to do? You're just going to try and come and get us now. And it's like, no, not unless you do what you're doing, you dip. So either way, I think he's just power hungry. He's just an angry, power hungry man. Oh, yeah. And I think
100%.
I don't know. I don't want to speak too ill, but I really hope somebody in his country takes care of him.
I know.
Let's just say that.
I mean, it's just one of those awful, like, evilly ran countries. And he harbors a lot of criminals in his country, like because of the laws that he has. So that's why we see people like Artem Lifshitz and this guy Maksim Yakubets. These are smart young people that he's recruiting to basically terrorize people online and steal money from them and steal resources, whatever he can get. And I think that's a lot of where this money has come from that Russia's getting, since they haven't been able to monopolize with the energy because of Ukraine. Yeah. So in and of itself, it's just a really crappy situation for basically the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So
I'm just happy finally, I think people are starting to see it, even the Russians, because they've been propagandized for so long. I mean, we actually got like hits on our podcast from Russia for the first time in the last month. So it's like,
yeah, I think people are...
Has this not been available to you guys or what?
I think people are starting to realize that this is BS. We're being oppressed by these people. And that's what I love about this, that we haven't seen in the past. You know, when we had like the world wars, it was like just nobody really analyzed what the real underlying reason behind it is or what the leaders were doing. It's like they weren't going after Hitler right away. And now it's like, well, we know that Putin's a bad person. So...
Right. I mean, it's like a text definition of narcissist. It's like you're supposedly not supposed to do that to people that you've never actually sat down with, say, oh, you're a narcissist. But there's so much evidence that he is. It's undeniable. I mean, if any of you have ever seen the movie Unfit, it's just a really good documentary about how you can diagnose somebody you've never met, because in this day and age, all the video, all the audio, all of the behaviors that we see is probably more than you would see of somebody who you were actually sitting in a room with for an hour once a week. So as a therapist, you really can say, no, this guy clearly has narcissism, malignant narcissism even. It's about Trump, but it shows the very similar... Like, I don't think Trump would ever do anything like this evil. I don't think Trump is evil. I think he's more like just so self-involved, you know, just so it's like he's almost like a hurt puppy or something. I feel like sometimes I'm just like, oh, you're just like an angry little kid who can't get his way. It reminds me of my toddlers, you know, but like Putin, he's like evil. He genuinely, legitimately is like Hitler. I mean, he does not want anybody to be in power but him. He thinks he knows best for everybody.
The whole world.
Worst kind of narcissist.
Yeah, really bad
scary
stuff. And just shady people surround this man, like, all the time.
All the time,
and it's like he's just trying to be this world terrorist, is what it feels like. Like, I'm going to make everyone afraid of Russia. That's my goal. Because people were, people are still afraid of the KGB. To this day, like they were so many members of their families were killed in the middle of the night. I mean, it's like cartel level stuff And Putin is. He's an evil person. Like, he bombed a bunch of hospitals in Ukraine for no reason.
Ugh.
You know, like, where women and children were. Like, he does not give a shit about people.
No.
Or his own people, for that matter. And
no. He just wants to be in control.
It'd be nice if, like, the country would wake up a little bit.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think they have to be. I mean, they're communicating more with people, and I know that, like, Google and some of the tech companies and, I don't know, some of the hackers, I hope that they tear down some of those walls to allow people to really understand what's going on, because they've been lied to. So they thought they were going to save Ukraine. I mean, give me a break. You guys are just totally deluded.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure, probably just like North Korea, where everything is very controlled. Whatever they put on any of their media outlets, it's all very controlled. Like, nobody can just go look freely on the internet and get their own information, you know?
Yeah. We think our speeches, our media is in trouble. I mean, I'd rather have this than one state-controlled media. That's terrible.
Yeah, it causes so much disinformation, and it just makes people believe things that are just not even true. And it's dangerous.
Truly
it's
Orwellian.
Very dangerous, stuff. So I kind of hope that Russia gets put in its place, honestly. I mean, we can only hope.
Too.
Like,
Me too.
Can't imagine what would happen if they overtook all of Ukraine and kept going, because they would.
They will. They probably will. I mean, I'm surprised Ukraine is doing so well. And I think NATO is probably saying, we really don't want to start a third world war here over Ukraine, and we're really sorry. If Ukraine can hold its own, awesome. And I know this is very unpopular opinion, but I just can't imagine NATO engaging over this.
Because it's really it's an energy thing between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's all that it is. It's Putin wants that back because it was giving him money.
And power,
So that's the only reason he's doing what he's doing. That's just the bottom line. So it just sucks for Ukrainians and the rest of the world, really. Like, in the European countries, their hands are tied too, because if they have 40% of their energy coming from Russia, it's pretty hard to cut that off to all their citizens all of a sudden. Yeah. So,
I mean, somehow these companies are managing to make record profits still despite all of this.
Right, that's another subject.
I know, I'm just like, what is really going on here? You know, it's just always, that's how it always feels, is like, wait a minute. If really they are producing that much energy and yet somehow these companies are making all these profits, then something sketchy has got to be going on.
Right.
But I don't know how long it'll take before we figure all that out.
So it's just kind of a no-win situation here with this. But we are going to talk about this Maksim Yakubets today, because this is kind of how I think Russia gets a lot of their funding for the things that they do, is with people like this. They get these young guys from a young age. They're made into these, like, internet soldiers, I guess is what I'll put that as.
Putin's cyber youth.
Yeah, like, it sounds kind of familiar to Nazi Germany, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Hitler youth.
So, anyway, so he's grooming these young men. So this guy was a member of this evil Corp, is what it was called. Which it's like, well, duh. Well, that's, what, could you come up with something more original than Evil Corp?
Right? We are an evil corp. That's what we do.
So, yeah, he basically he's a computer hacker that he stole like $100 million. So he lives, pretty well off. He obviously can't go too far outside of Russia. That's the thing. Like, once these guys do this stuff, they're wanted everywhere else all over the world. So they're pretty much stuck in Russia.
Right. Right. Well, they made their bed.
Right. So this guy, Yakubets, he was charged like on November 13th of 2019. So it's a few years ago.
Charged here in the United States.
Yeah. We'd have to get him extradited to actually kind of just like Artem Lifshitz. They're just like this group of people that, unless like the whole world goes after Russia, I doubt we'll ever see these people. And even then, they'll probably just go into hiding like in Saudi Arabia or something like that. So they always seem to have their ways out of stuff.
Right. Especially if they stole all this money and now they have all this money to get away.
And so basically he's like the most wanted hacker in the world, this guy. Because he just got away with all of this stuff. It's crazy. Has close ties to the Federal Security Service, the FSB, which is like the modern day KGB of Russia. They're basically a security force, that took over the KGB, which they're probably still the same thing. So
right. We need to rebrand them.
That was probably what Putin said. We're going to rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's the Federal Security Service instead of the KGB.
Yeah, right. Whatever. We know what it is, dude. As long as you're in charge.
Yeah. So, and of course, like, you know, everyone's terrified of the KGB, so they're going to be terrified of the Federal Security Service. So, anyway, so he's, so Maxim, he started doing this in May of 2009. He led the hackers behind the evil Corp to assault the bank accounts of victims across dozens of countries. So basically they were using a evolving malware called Bugat, and the criminals siphoned money from citizens that had no idea. They did it for about 10 years before it was like some people were shut it down. I don't know if it was the U.S. government that did that, but I'm sure they played a role because I know they watch these type of people. So,
as soon as they get the malware, they can probably build something to block it. But
so they would basically convince email users to click on a malicious link in a phishing email to download their malware.
So simple.
Oh,
so
very
simple.
And then, so once the Bugat was installed on their computer, it would employ various techniques to steal the user's personal information in an automated manner. So, it would just like totally hack in like an antivirus into the computer. And when you were putting in to get into your bank, it would probably, you know, something would pop up and it would steal the login info, and then therefore it was stealing money from people. So
once you give your login for your email, I mean, you're pretty much SOL, because it's connected to so many things, and they can use it to verify all your accounts. I was thinking about it, like, if you think about your email as like a central repository for your whole life, basically. They see all the kinds of accounts you have. So if you have a certain kind of bank, they can look for it in there and find it, go to there, use the same login information. It's probably going to work, or use it to verify the login information. It's just scary how easy it is.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to steal if you know how to do that. Mm-hmm. Basically, they're just software engineers that are building programs to steal people's identities and information to get their money. So then they allegedly use these people known as money mules to receive the stolen funds into their bank accounts, and then they would move the money into other accounts or withdraw the funds and transport the funds overseas as smuggled bulk cash. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So some crazy, crazy stuff. They victimize big banks, a school district, private energy and construction companies, and even a firearm manufacturer. These assaults happened as recent as March 2019. Apparently, Evil Corp was also in the franchise business, so they gave UK residents access to Bugat in exchange for $100,000 up front plus 50% of all revenues, with a minimum take of $50,000 a week. And then they offered technical support on top of that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Like it just keeps going. Yeah. So finally in December of 2019, the FBI indicted Yakubets on the same day. The State Department, in partnership with the FBI, announced a reward of up to $5 million for informations leading to the arrest or conviction of him, which of course we all know that's never going to happen.
Yeah, right. He's still on the most wanted list.
So in the same month, he was indicted for the Bugat conspiracy, another criminal complaint connected him to the Zeus malware scheme. And that Zeus malware was also employed money mules and a botnet.
Oh,
of course they were. Mm-hmm. Yep. So they allegedly victimized banks, companies, nonprofit organizations in Iowa, California, Illinois, Massachusetts, Kentucky, North Carolina, Maine, Washington, New Mexico, Texas, and Ohio. That's a lot.
Jeez.
Yeah, and this is the Zeus malware, which is like separate from the Evil Corp that we're talking about. So the Zeus malware facilitated the attempted theft of about $220 million USD, and actual losses were around $70 million from victims' bank accounts. So it's just...
You know why? It's because we click on things so easily. I think I mentioned that I used to have a boss that was a CIO, like a chief information officer, like a technology guy. And we were working for this company, and one time we got these emails that were clearly phishing. The emails were like, hey, can you call me? So then they'd get our phone number. So they'd give us a phone number and say, and they claimed to be the CIO. Hey, or the CEO. Hey, call me. I have a special request for you. And it makes you feel all special. And so like somebody I knew, one of my employees actually... called them and they said, hey, you need to go over to King Soopers and buy like $50 worth of gift cards, or $500, some huge amount. It was a lot. It was hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards, and then mail them to us. And I know, it was that simple. And so he realized it right after he bought the cards. Wait, what am I doing? I don't know that this is the CEO. Why didn't I run this through my manager? Like, the whole thing was just so obvious if you sit and think about it for a minute, but he was just so elated because that particular CEO is really friendly with everybody and wants to meet everybody when they're new. And so he had actually met them and was like, oh, this is a friendly thing.
Oh,
And I was just like, I am so blown away by how simple this scam was and how easily they were just about to steal like $500 from you. And he was mortified, just completely. I think the first step was actually to email them back. So then immediately you were already engaging with them. Just even like my boss said, don't click on it. Don't even open it. If you don't know who it's from, don't open it. Don't click on it. If they seriously need to get a hold of you, they will find a way if they're a legitimate person. But if they're not, we just got an email from a scammer probably. And I was like, I'm not replying back to this because I feel like even engaging with the email at all, it just creates the situation.
I know. And it's so
scary.
easy to get duped by that, because like I've been in places where, like I'll pick up my phone if I'm expecting a call, let's just say from the dentist's office or something. And this other spammy call comes in and I accidentally answer it. And like, God forbid, it's like about what you're waiting the phone call to be. And I'm sure that's happened to people before.
Right.
Where they're calling to get their health insurance or something. And then this scammy health insurance number calls them and they think it's like this other company. And then they're giving them all their information. I'm sure that's happened before too.
Totally.
All this kind of stuff. And hackers like Yakubet, I mean, that's what they live for, obviously. And of course, he's working with the FSB. So he's in the Russia's intelligence agency. So of course he's somehow tied to Putin, I bet. Putin could say, I don't know who these people are, because that's what he does.
Oh yeah. God, that is exactly what Trump says. I'm sorry. I hate to draw the parallels, but it's so annoying. Oh, I've never met them before. They work for you. They're part of... No, you know who they are. You damn well know who they are. You know exactly what they can do and you exploited it.
Yeah.
For your own good. For your own use.
I'm sure Putin's been working on this war for years. Obviously, like that's probably his only focus. He's like, I'm going to take back Ukraine, and then I'm going to take over the world, and everyone's going to listen to what I do because I'm so special. Yeah,
it's like I feel like they're almost like a dad who just feels like they know best all the time. That's the vibe I get. Is like somebody who's like, just let me take over. I'll do it all. I know best. I can handle the whole world. I make the best decisions for everybody. It's like, who are you? I don't want you to make decisions for me. It's part of the narcissism. If only people listened to me and did what I said, we would all be better. But it really only benefits them because they're thinking of how it would be a better world for them.
Right.
They don't care about anybody else. But they're saying, like, if you put it in my hands, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's how he got in with everything. I mean, there's all sorts of things been written about how he got into power in Russia and hacked the voting system there. Doesn't that sound familiar? The guy's just a shady asshole. Like, all the way around.
Yeah, he is. Totally an autocrat.
Yeah, just a total creeper.
Yeah.
And these are the type of people that he has working for him. All these hackers that meddle in all sorts of different countries' business. That's what Russia likes to do. They like to be all over the world and meddle in everyone's business. That's what they do.
Right.
And they want people to be afraid of them.
Well, and I've heard this argument that why did he wait for Joe Biden to be in office to invade? And why did he invade Crimea when Obama was in office, but not Trump? And I think a lot of it has to do with Trump was friendly with him. Didn't want to be in NATO either. Wanted to pull the United States out of NATO. And he was like, yes, this is the kind of person I want in power in the United States. It just really got me thinking, like, why would he want Trump as president? Because they deployed this is what Artem Lifshitz did. If you guys go listen to that episode, Artem Lifshitz, they deployed all these bots that were anti-Hillary. So he specifically did not like Hillary because he knew Hillary knew what he was up to. And also he liked Trump because Trump was friendly to him and was going to also take himself out of NATO. And then it kind of made sense to me. Like, okay, I see. And obviously he always plays mind games. Like he wanted everybody to think it was because, well, Biden's in power and he's a weak person. So I'm going to take over right now because I know he won't do anything. But I don't know what Trump would have done either. I don't know why it's so tied to the United States. I think he's jealous of us that we're in power and he's not. That's got to be it. He wants to be in power again, and he's annoyed with the United States.
Honestly, that's what he wanted. And honestly, he could have probably rolled right over Ukraine if Trump was in power, possibly. And then...
Well, Trump tried to take away their funding. This was the whole impeachment was about, and everybody's so confused about what it's about. Trump tried to... Because the United States gives Ukraine and other countries money to become a democracy, but they have these very specific criteria for what you have to do in order to get the money. You have to show that you have a free and fair election. You have to show that you have certain policies in place, whatever. And so Trump was saying, I'm not going to give you this money, which he's not allowed to do. I mean, yeah, he's the president, but technically Congress has to approve this, not him. I mean, there are some mechanisms in place that could have made it possible. But anyway, he said, I'm not going to give this money to you, Zelensky, unless you start looking into Biden. And the reason he wanted to start looking into Biden is because Biden was going to become his political foe, obviously. And he obviously lost against him in the long run. But he obviously wasn't going to support Ukraine the whole time. He was going to take the money from him in the first place, which is exactly what Russia wanted, and it just blows my mind that people don't see these connections. I mean, I might be missing something, but I just feel like, oh gosh, this is so clear to me. But I've never been a fan of Trump though. So I feel a little like maybe I'm just seeing something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's just really hard to know exactly what people are doing and why they're doing it. But I think we do know why Putin is doing what he's doing. He wants the power. He wants to be in charge of Europe. Yeah. He wants to take over all of Europe, and he wants to take over as much as he can. He wants to be a world power. Like, that's all he wants.
Yeah. He's embarrassed for Russia that they're not in charge anymore. Or ever.
Yeah, and he plays on people's fears. Like, that's what he does. Like, he's very good at that. You know, scaring. I'm sure he scares the shit out of all of his people all the time. I'm sure he terrorizes these poor Russian people, with all of his crap. Like, if you don't give us all of your money, we're going to kill your family. I don't know.
I know. I imagine him having a button by his desk where it's just like the floor opens, and like people fall through.
If you go meet with them,
you are dead now. You didn't listen to me. You're out. You're fired. My Putin accent isn't that great today. I haven't been listening to him that much. I can't even stand the sound of him right now. I'm like, you're such an evil fuck. I hate you. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Maksim now, he's living a nice, lavish lifestyle.
I knew that was coming.
He's got the Lamborghinis, he's got the ladies, the mansions. He's got it all in Russia. Unless,
of course.
Unless the Ukrainian war takes them out. I don't know. It'll be a very interesting year to see what happens. I'm sure that we'll be talking about. But mostly, honestly, that's how they got most of their funding for this war, is like by scamming the rest of the world.
Yeah, I was really curious about that. Where did they get all this money? And then as we were going through these stories and learning more about these scams and realizing just how many of them are involved in that area or specifically aligned with him. I mean, there's probably a handful more stories that we have of the United States indicting people from Russia for doing crimes against the United States to steal money specifically. Just makes you think, oh, that's how they got it.
Right.
Oil production, yes, but also any other way in which they could, because they had like $600 billion just sitting there waiting for this big war. So this is maybe just scratching the surface of that pile of money, but I feel like I hope what's happening is that we're using their resources against them by shutting it all down. Like, you can't have access to your money, and I don't know. I feel like I am putting way too much weight in these hackers that are going to basically turn the tables on him. This anonymous group.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard about this. The anonymous hackers. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm like, please shut it off. Steal it back. Yeah. I don't care. Do what you got to do. Get them to be completely decimated. I don't want the Russians to have to suffer for it, but his power's got to be taken away. This can't keep happening.
This world crap needs to stop.
Right. And especially with like Bulgaria getting involved now. I'm like, oh my goodness, what are you guys doing?
Happening over there, and like, oh my God, it's awful. And I feel bad for all the people that are stuck in these situations and all the innocent people that have died, which is really shitty. Casualties of these horrible wars. It's like, but have we learned nothing from the world wars? Like, we're still doing this kind of shit.
I am just always shocked that this is what we reduce ourselves to. I mean, it's actually kind of, as like a computer nerd myself, it's actually kind of making me happy that we're fighting a cyber war instead, because at least there's not casualties as much that way.
Right.
You know, you're not physically having to put up arms and fight, you know, because always with a regular type of war like this, there are innocent casualties. Always.
Yep.
You know, I mean, what in the hell did these poor people do to him? Nothing.
Yep.
So just go fuck yourself,
Yep.
Putin. I hope that this ends very
Yeah, I do
badly
too.
for you.
Yeah.
Bigly.
I hope it all implodes on this man, because he's a world evil. Like, he's just an evil man who doesn't deserve his role and should never be in a role of power. Like, people like that, they should just never be in those roles.
Yeah, he'll join the ranks of the evil tyrants of history.
Yeah,
for
Hitler,
sure.
Mussolini, Stalin. Well, and it's like that country. It's for hundreds of years. This country, it's all been ruled by fear. Hundreds of years. We're talking.
Maybe it's just because it's so cold up there. Everybody's just so grouchy. I don't know. What the hell is it, Russia? I feel like they're just really big, and so they feel like maybe their land mass should give them more power or something. I don't know. There's just something about them. It's just a crazy part of the world.
It is.
I don't know.
Very different.
That was a great story, and a really sad story also.
Yeah.
So
that's where we are.
Prayers for the people in the
definitely
Ukraine.
with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Real Talk. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast